God, just once, just one time, I'd love to get in a complete sentence around here for fun.
Yeah, whatever.
I watched The Need for Speed, and now I have the need for speed.
Yeah, whatever. Cause this is my United States or whatever. And this is my United States or whatever.
You have the need for speed, huh? You're gonna become a junkie now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I needed this.
I know what this
It's
is.
been a long week.
Has it?
Yeah, zombies
I agree.
chasing me everywhere. Now I'm finally safe. Whew. Oh man, so yeah, this week we're gonna be talking a lot of horror related stuff, which is very fitting, seeing as we're on Bloody Disgusting now. But a lot of Resident Evil news this week that we're gonna dive headfirst into, and
Yes.
yeah, man, this music, if you guys don't recognize it, which shame on you if you don't, is from the Resident Evil Remake on the GameCube, which was released, I believe, in 2002. Is that right? I think I have my ear right. I'm not entirely sure. I'm too lazy to Wikipedia it. So, but anyway, the game's old now, and was released exclusively for the GameCube, and to this day remains exclusive to the GameCube
Well,
and Wii.
yes.
They re-released it on the Wii, but it was still the GameCube version of the game. They just crammed it onto a DVD and then gave it a bunch of new control schemes, and then said, "Hey, here you go, guys. You can play with a Wii remote held sideways," which is kind of interesting. Anyway, so this week they announced they are going to actually be re-releasing that remake from 2002, or I'm probably wrong, but yeah, anyway, they are re-releasing it for the PS4, Xbox One, PS3, 360, and PC.
Oh my.
So, any thoughts on this? Any thoughts on the fact that it's being re-released?
Well, I know. Is this a remake of a remake?
The remake. So
Yeah.
I'll get into the pun part of remake in a second, but you think it's terrible, right? You wish no one ever would get to play it again.
Actually, no.
This is
Actually, matter of
horrible.
fact, I do think it's good because I think a lot of people didn't play it because it was
Yeah.
only on 2 systems.
Mhm.
You know, and not everybody had a Wii, and not everybody had
it's apparently
a GameCube.
undersold according to their expectations. I think it sold over 1 million copies, but it still underperformed compared to what they hoped for. So, not that many people have played it.
Well,
I
that's
guess.
why we got Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, pretty
Did
much.
you know that?
That's why we got. Yeah, you're right.
Well, that undersold and Code Veronica undersold, and they were like,
Nobody likes horror. I guess we're gonna
Yeah,
have to go to over-the-shoulder shooter shit. And but that was the funny thing was that Resident Evil 4 kind of spurred in the onslaught of shooters we got, right? Because it was really successful, but Gears of War took after it, and then the rest is history, as they say, right?
yes,
So
yes.
it was kind of I guess unintentional that Resident Evil of all series started the shooter craze of the 2000s, if you will, of last generation, but it kind of sort of did because without it being as hugely successful as it was, and it wasn't just successful as a shooter, it was successful in the cinematic aspect of it. You know, like the QTEs were done well, the seamless cutscenes and stuff like that they just became part of the norm. You know, the linear movie-like experience that Resident Evil 4 presented as a result of remake not selling well enough because basically Shinji Mikami, the director, who directed another game we're going to talk about a little later, or is directing another game we're going to talk about a little later, The Evil Within. But he basically looked at the sales numbers and he was like, well, I guess hardcore horror doesn't work anymore, survival horror doesn't work anymore, so we're going to have to make it kind of action-oriented, right? And that's how Resident Evil 4 came about.
And I don't, I mean, this is a topic that's long up for debate between, lifelong
Which is
fans
better.
of Resident Evil. Yeah, which is better. And I mean,
ruined,
to be honest,
it ruined Resident Evil.
I still think RE4 did a pretty good job of meshing the two. It could have been a little bit more scarier, but it still had a lot of horror overtones,
Right?
And some very creepy atmosphere.
Regenerators,
whereas I feel
man.
5 and 6 kind of dumped that for the most part.
Yeah, they did. The Regenerators still freak me out. especially the
Mhm.
big the tougher ones with the spikes all over them and stuff. Oh, those are creepy as hell. Hate them.
Yeah, but
Um,
but I think I think obviously it was a hit. I mean, the sales wise, and
yeah,
it was then put on like everything. It was put
yeah.
on
It was on
PlayStation,
like it was even
push
on the
PlayStation
I
2.
think it was even on the GameCom at one point, right?
Uh,
I
yeah,
don't remember. Who
I think you're
knows?
right. No, I don't
No, it
know.
wasn't that. I
But
was the
it
Resident
was
Evil 2, but
but there was it came out on PS2. It came out on digitally on Xbox 360, PS3,
hmm
and they just released it on the PC actually not long ago, a
there's a
couple months back.
mobile phone version in Japan too.
Oh, I
Interestingly.
played that.
No,
No,
did
I
you?
didn't. No,
I
I
didn't
didn't.
know you were in Japan ever.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, yeah, it was put on everything under the sun basically, and it's been on pretty much every platform released since the GameCube was on the market. So, but getting back to remake, I think it'll be interesting. I think it's good that people are going to get to play it finally, right? Because like we said, it was only on the GameCube and it was only
Yes.
on the Wii this past generation. And unless you had either one of those systems, which a good majority of people interested in third-party software didn't, and interested in Resident Evil didn't, um, you know, you're finally going to get to experience what I think is one of the better games out there.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite games ever, and I replayed it earlier this year, and it still holds up really well. I guess if you're not accustomed to the original Resident Evil formula with the fixed cameras and things like that, it's going to be kind of weird. Because I've seen people even on NeoGAF, which is a gaming forum. If you're not familiar, me and Justin are members of the community there, and it's a really strict community, but it's really well moderated, I think. But a lot of people have a problem with moderation there, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's a whole podcast unto
Yeah, that's a
itself.
whole
But
other topic.
there are people there, the younger people that have never played the original Resident Evils before, and they were complaining about what they call tank controls, and basically that is you hold up to move forward, and you turn left by pushing left on the analog stick, and turn right by pushing right on the analog stick. There's no strafing, you don't move in the direction you're aiming. Um, and I think they're outfitting this remake with an analog control scheme
Yes.
it'll let you move in the direction you're moving the analog stick in, right? I
Yeah,
think that's
they
what it
are,
is.
but I mean that still doesn't change the camera angles.
No, so people have to adjust to it basically, and a lot of people have a hard time doing that because it's different by today's standards. Now, back in the day, whenever they went, full 3D with Resident Evil 4, that was like a huge change for people that were used to the old fixed camera angles. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of backwards, it's kind of flipped now.
Well, it was
But
interesting because the controls are still kind of similar. You pushed up to
mm-hmm.
go forward,
Yeah,
left and
you're
right to
right.
turn.
And the whole game, that's another thing. I see people bitching about Resident Evil 4's controls a lot now. I don't. I think the controls in 6 are a lot different too, and I have trouble getting used to the controls in 6. So I'm so used to Resident Evil 4's control scheme. I played through Resident Evil 5 with the 4 control scheme,
Yeah.
and I'm so used to the old classic tank controls as they call them that it's hard for me to adjust to anything different.
Well,
I
and it's fundamentally different too when you have a control scheme where you have to stop to shoot versus you can
Yep.
aim and shoot and move at the same
Yeah,
time.
and that's what I was getting to is the entire game of Resident Evil 4 is built around the fact you have to stop and shoot. And the enemies, they rush at you, but then they stop before they get to you because, Shinji Mikami knew you don't have, enemies bum rushing you the entire time. It makes it really hard and frustrating. So they save that for professional difficulty. But the whole thing is the whole series is just an acquired taste, I guess, because the controls are odd, the fixed camera angles are odd to people now, and unless you kind of played them back in the day when they were new, it's going to seem kind of foreign to you. But if you can tough it out and actually weather the storm with the controls and get used to them, I think you'll find a really really gratifying experience with this game. Um, the remake, what they're doing is and this is where we'll get into the technical discussion a little bit. So the game came out on the GameCube, and at the time, the GameCube was kind of top of the line graphically, right? It
Yes.
was right there with the Xbox, a little bit more powerful than PS2 overall. Not quite as powerful as the Xbox, but
A little mini disc.
yeah, but it had plenty of power for its size and for the generation. And at the time, standard definition televisions were the norm, right? So everything was
Yeah.
done in 480, 480i, and it's 640 by 480 resolution, and it's 4:3 aspect ratio. There's no widescreen support, and the reason is because back in the day, in the PlayStation 1 and all the way through the GameCube era, in order to get realistic detail into a video game, 3D graphics were still so primitive that in order to do that, you had to pre-render your backgrounds, right? And
Yes.
the backgrounds pre-rendering, that basically means they would do the whole 3D scene in a program like Maya or something, and then they would basically capture a picture of that background, right? And then the background that your character is modeled in front of is actually just like a bitmap or a JPEG, if you will, and it's just an image file. And the problem is that's not done in real time, and you can't blow it up to 1080p graphics or 720p even, and not have it look like complete and utter ass. So the problem is, they're taking the GameCube version of the game, and I don't think they are going through the process of like redoing all the re-rendering and stuff like that for the backgrounds, because the screens they've released so far are basically just exactly like renders. They're the GameCube version of the game just blown up basically,
Yes.
and they're put through like an image filter to kind of get rid of noise and stuff like that, artifacting and stuff, but it still doesn't. I don't think it does a really good job of it. And the problem I have with it is I think this game, being like a seminal release, a cornerstone of your company, kind of, right? Because Resident Evil's
Yeah.
become like their biggest franchise. I just feel, and especially because the game is so good in my mind, I think it deserves better than that. To be honest,
Well, and I would agree, but if I heard correctly, okay, I heard they lost the original assets, or they lost
they haven't
something.
confirmed that, but the reason that people are speculating that is because there has been like a render, at least one render discovered of the mansion, the foyer of the mansion, right?
Yes.
And it's super super high res. It's like 6,000 by 5,000 something resolution, and it's
Yes.
super super detailed. And the fact that they are not using the source material that was at one time such high resolution, and instead are opting to blow up the backgrounds that are 480i resolution, that kind of lends to the credibility of the rumor that they lost the assets. They
Yeah.
no longer
Now,
have them.
so that being the case,
Mm-hmm.
there's two choices. They either recreate it all and
From
which
the
would
ground up,
re
right?
yeah, which would be insanely hard to do, and to get everything exactly how it was. I mean, I don't even know if it's possible.
Probably
And
not.
or yeah, and then or you bring it out the best you can just so people can play it. Because honestly, it playing on a higher resolution than it did on the GameCube or the Wii is probably better regardless, even if it has a slightly muddier look. I mean, that's just what I would think. Like, if it came down to can play this or I can't play this, because if they don't have the original assets and they're not going to bring it out, I'd rather them bring it out, even if it's not as superior as
Yeah,
it
and
could be.
I see what you're saying. I get the whole. I do agree it's better that people get to play it than not. But
I think you,
I think
I think
personally,
you have more of a problem with the
it's
fact that
more
they
of
lost their
that
assets.
sucks. Yeah, that definitely sucks. But one of the things is I just feel like it's an important enough title that it would warrant a complete redo, basically. You know what I mean? Like, because it's considered by like diehard Resident Evil fans to be the best in the franchise. Okay, and it's also one of the most important games in Capcom's history. You know what I mean? So I
Yes.
just feel like if any game were to get the entire remake treatment from the ground up, this would be one that you would want to do it with. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
true.
there's nothing saying eventually they might, they won't do that. Because if this sells well, they very well could, do Resident Evil 2 from the ground up, or
Yeah, and see, I
another remake.
think
But
that's where they're going with this. I think because they already remade one, they don't want to put the time and the money to like fully redo it yet again. But if they bring this out and it sells really well, maybe they will consider either I mean, this could go either two ways. Either A, they're gonna make another one, remake another one, and give fans what they wanted, which was RE2 remade for the
right,
longest time,
yeah,
or
I'm still waiting on
they're
that.
or they're getting feedback to just see how much people really like and will pay for the classic type of survival horror, and they're going to use that to decide where they go on their development furthermore of Resident Evil 7, because it's being developed
Yeah, I feel like they are using this as kind of like a
like a
gauge to,
metric.
yeah, like a metric to figure out how much horror they can put in Resident Evil again, because people just bitched and moaned about 5 and 6 not being horror related, more action. But unfortunately, even in the movie world, as Bloody Disgusting fans would know, the horror genre isn't nearly as big as the action genre. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
so it doesn't make nearly as much money because not a lot of people can stomach being scared. You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
don't want to put themselves through that, unfortunately. So
Yeah, you have to be kind of sadistic.
yeah, it's a much more niche audience than, an action related one, which is something that most people kind of daydream about. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be the action hero, you want to live vicariously as Rambo or whoever. So, like, playing as Leon and saving the girl at the end of the game, that's kind of like what a lot of people like to do. But
Wait,
yeah, I
what? I
don't
was
know.
daydreaming. What were you saying?
We're gonna see though. Like you said, but the problem is it's gonna be a digital release, so
Yes.
it's kind of a small scale thing, and I don't know how much. I don't even know who's doing the port. Is it QLock again? Because they've been doing
I
most
don't
of the
know.
most of the ports. Um, did you play any of the other ports? Did you play the Code Veronica
Yep.
release?
I played them all.
I heard the Code Veronica cutscenes were awful.
Yeah, they
Like,
weren't
they
that
were,
great, if I
yeah.
remember
So
correctly.
I'm hoping they find a way to do something with them, because they're pretty bad already in the GameCube version. But I can't imagine what they're gonna look like
Which
at
is crazy
1080.
because they were amazing when they came out. I
Yeah,
remember that was
you have to understand, guys. Like, when this game came out, if you're a younger person, it was literally one of the best looking games on the market. I mean, the backgrounds are so detailed, and there's this high res render that I'll put in the
yes.
show notes down on the page you can click on. Somebody found it on DeviantArt, and it's like a promotional render from like 2002 when the game came out, and it's just so super high detailed. You can even see like specks of dust in the carpet. So I mean, it's super super high detail. But that's sad. It makes me so sad though, because just to see how high quality the original assets were at one point, and now they're just gone.
Well,
And
I mean, if, for all we know, that could have been just a promotional
it
like
might have
picture
been,
they
yeah.
saved. I mean, my guess is probably what happened is they had everything at these high resolutions, and they had it locked down. And my guess is they had it saved somewhere, and something happened. It got deleted,
Are
whatever.
we gonna use
And
this again? Nah.
they're probably ripping out their files from the original game.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is the reason we know that they're upscaling the backgrounds is that people on NeoGAF in particular, because that's where I'm always reading. But there's an emulator on PC called Dolphin, and Dolphin is a GameCube slash Wii emulator for your PC.
Not Dolph Lundgren, but Dolphin.
Yeah, not Dolph Lundgren, but in the emulator, if you load the game, you have the ability to dump textures, and the textures in this game are the background files. And so people have actually dumped the background files from the game itself, from the game disc, and they've dug around in the files, and they'll take the actual background image and upscale it themselves in Photoshop and run it through various filters, and they've gotten some really similar results. So it's pretty obvious they're just upresing them, which that's probably, like we said, the only option they have at this point. That makes financial sense to them. The other option, like Justin said, is to completely rebuild the game from the ground up, which I would love, but yeah, let's be realistic. That's not going to happen.
No.
At least not yet. So, when the game comes out, though, if it sells enough, who knows? Um,
And supposedly it comes out on the PS3 and the Xbox 360 this year.
that's right. And then, and the other thing I don't like is in Japan. I mean, you can't really translate the price directly, because that's not usually how it works. But over there, it's roughly $40 for the game, which is that's a bit steep. I think I'm guessing it'll probably be about 30 when it releases here or so. But I
And
still
it's
think
only
that's kind of,
physical there, not here.
yeah, that's right. They get a physical release over there only for PS3,
Yes.
and here we're only getting digital, which I don't like. Again, like I said the other day on Twitter, the only reason
Yeah.
I didn't play the game, I didn't play Resident Evil 4 on. I've played Resident Evil 4 on every platform that's been released except for PS3 and 360, because it was a digital only release, and I don't like digital console releases because
You don't do
consoles,
digital.
yeah, consoles, they go away, they fade out. So then you have to plug in your console and hope that you can download it again 5 years from now, and it's just not gonna. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, I'm excited about it, honestly, but I'm mostly excited because it's coming to Steam, which is awesome. But we'll see. I mean, it remains to be seen how well the assets come out. Some of the screenshots they've released they're not bad. it's just disappointing because it could be a lot better. So anyway,
I'm gonna hold my Wii copy so tight.
you have a Wii copy?
I have Resident Evil 0 and 1
Oh, do you really?
on
That's
Wii.
cool. Yeah, they're not limited releases, were they? I think
Hmm.
you can still find them
You
pretty
can still find them,
cheaply.
but they weren't released at like hardcore. Like
Right.
they were called like archives, is what it was
Yeah,
called on
that's
the
right.
Wii.
All right. So
So
moving from there, some more Resident Evil related news. There was a pitch found online. I guess I don't know. Somebody, Bloody Disgusting reader Cliff L, uh, tipped off Bloody Disgusting that there was a company that's allegedly developing a TV series based on the Resident Evil games called Arklay, and it would basically, I don't know what it would exactly encompass other than the official pitch, the synopsis. It says, when Detective James Reinhardt is thrust into a series of bizarre homicides, he unravels the city is hiding a dark conspiracy. Learning a fatal virus is connected to it all, Reinhardt discovers it's already coursing through him. With time no longer on his side, he must solve the conspiracy to save his own life. So basically, he is Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 4, right? Because
it's funny though,
he's
because you could take that synopsis and kind of spin it into anything.
That's true. And there's a pitch tied to it, like an actual video, and the video is all it is clips from other things like Seven and Hannibal, the show Hannibal, and things like that, just kind of stitched together with some text, and it just kind of gives an idea of the mood that this would have. But I don't know, like I don't know what the hell it would talk about. Would it be a prequel or a sequel? Does it say here? I don't think it says.
I don't really, I don't know. And I've noticed like, it's so funny when it comes to like the gaming world versus the movie world versus the TV world,
Yeah.
because there's all these different, like, different things that work for different audiences. So obviously, with TV shows and especially stuff that's sounds in similar nature of this, I could see like cliffhanger endings to each episode leading into the next, a good mystery to stretch out through the entire time. But yeah, being it's if it's going to be based on Resident Evil, people kind of go in. Most people will probably go in knowing like, okay, I know there's a virus, I
Yeah.
know there's the company. So yeah, you'd really have to. I don't know how you could sell it very well. Like you'd have to. I think you definitely have to get some good written characters
I don't
for.
think a lot of these things that take they start off with new characters that people have never heard of before. Everybody like that knows Resident Evil outside of the movie series because that has totally different characters. But well, no, it has the same characters except Alice is just not in the games. But the what I'm getting at is we know Wesker and Chris and Jill and all these characters, and then you're just gonna center this around some other guy we've never heard of in a place in the world we've never seen before. You know what I mean? Like it's not even really Resident Evil related at this point. It's just kind of like using the Resident Evil name as
Yeah,
like a thing to get people in. But
yeah,
then once they get in, it's not related to zombies. It's the virus, I guess. I don't know if it would be the actual T virus or whatever, but
yeah.
would
Well,
it?
again, it's just like the movies. The movies kind of did their own thing. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
later in the
that's
movies
true.
they got other characters from the game, but they didn't really stick too much to the ideas of
Yeah,
it. I mean, it was basically company, umbrella, viruses, monsters,
and they try to
go.
stitch Wesker in there. Like, hey, look at
Yeah.
him. He's in here too. He's evil all around. Yeah, it's interesting though. It's a cool idea, I think, but I don't know if I don't know how well it would be pulled off because, like I said, it's really not going to be focused on anything Resident Evil related other
Well,
than the virus and Raccoon City. And other than
well,
that,
that's just all we know right now. But like,
eh,
it's in TV's changing too because now you got like the shows that are based off like comic book characters
right.
or
Yeah,
like comic book stuff, and then you've
Arrow.
got like even now you got the show based off a Stephen King novel, and it's kind of like, well, the book ends,
They're even getting
you
a
know.
show based on the lawyer in Breaking Bad. A
See, I
spin
mean,
off. Like, what? But yeah, I mean, it says he says it's clearly inspired by Fox's Gotham, which would be a completely different take on the Resident Evil stories. If anyone's read any of the Resident Evil books, they
I
kind of
have.
do that. There's one that follows Rebecca Chambers, who's a character from the first game and Resident Evil Zero, but it follows her like through an umbrella laboratory, basically.
Was
Like,
that one Caliban Cove?
was it? It might have been, yeah, where she goes underground.
Yeah, I believe
Everything's
so.
underground. It was in like Colorado or something. But yeah, everything's underground with Umbrella. It's kind of obvious. Like you just go, hey, I think we're on top of an umbrella. We're a facility. Like, how do you know? Because it's shaped like an umbrella symbol.
Yeah.
But the yeah, I don't know. Because I would be interested in this game being greenlit, to be honest, just to see how it turns out. And then who knows? Because if it turned out well, I always think back to like the Mortal Kombat stuff because there have been like 100 different things greenlit for Mortal Kombat over the years. Like there was a cartoon on USA Network which is horrible. There was there's the online show which how many seasons did that get? Is that still going?
I think it's season 2 now.
Is it season 2 or 3? I don't know. It's been going pretty decently though. But I don't know. Like I don't really tend to tune in. I always forget they're there because they put them on the most obscure networks too. Like it'll get on like FX or something, and then I mean not that FX is obscure, but they'll put it on like a Saturday night at 9 or something, and you're like, what? Like I don't watch TV
Tonight
then.
on
Yeah.
FX.
Tonight on FX. Tune into the show critics say I barely recognized was there. Like that kind of stuff. It's like, wow, that was on. Man, I totally would have watched it had I known. But anyway, so Arklay, look for Arklay. I think Brad, Mr. Disgusting, as he goes by on the site, but I think he's mistaken in the article. He says their players found the Arklay Mountains, Arklay Mansion, and more notably Arklay Laboratories. I don't know if that's the name of the mansion. Isn't it the Spencer Mansion, or is that a totally different mansion?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I'm
See,
getting
I
my
think
my.
I think the Arklay Mountains is where they take. No, I don't know. Who cares? Screw it.
Well, it's definitely the Arklay Mountains,
Yeah, the Arklay Mountains
but I
though.
think it's the Spencer Mansion,
The Spencer Mansion, and then I don't know what the laboratory's called, but anyway, so check out Arklay if it ever
and
gets
it
greenlit.
was Caliban Cove.
Yeah, okay. I read that one and I read another one. This is back
They
when I
did
was in
they
high
did
school.
ones they, they did one like
Years
after
ago.
every game, like 0, 1,
Did they
2,
really?
Nemesis, Code Veronica.
Wow.
Yeah, they did it all the way up to Code Veronica, and then there was 2 that were like its
Didn't
own thing.
didn't you read the book for Nemesis? God, they explained everything. I used to know.
that
I used to know people like that. They were like,
that
God, didn't you read the Halo 2 book?
that part where Nemesis busts out of page 59 scared the living shit out of me.
Dude, they totally tied together Halo 2 and 3 and Reach and all that stuff. You didn't read the
That,
books? Like,
that's
no.
not how it happened in the game.
It's true. That's how I am.
That's
I'm like they didn't explain that in the game and people go, "No, you had to read the 18 part, series after that." That
which
was
it reminds me. There's actually an Alan Wake book
oh wow. See, that doesn't
paperback.
surprise me though, just because Sam Lake's a writer
Yeah,
and he likes to write stuff.
but I don't think it was written by him.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, it was written by
Well, the
Rick Burroughs.
story was probably written by him, but then somebody else, he probably had a ghostwriter come in and like clear up his English because it's not that good. But that's
Like
the
I
thing.
read the book, then I played the game, then I watched the movie, then I went on the ride at Universal Studios.
An Alan Wake ride. That would be like the ET ride, wouldn't it? You just have like a flashlight, like glued to your seat, and just kind of goes through woods. That would be the. Oh man, you know what? Side story. We went to. I've only been to Universal Studios I think twice, but in Orlando. But the ET ride was the worst. It was just like you go over, the crappy. You know what it is. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
like you're sitting in the bike and you have ET in front of you in the basket, and then but it was the jerkiest thing ever. I swear it
Yeah.
was like. It's so old that you just go up and down these little hills, and it's just like,
And you,
you're
and you
just
hear
like,
this animatronic.
oh
Elliot.
God, whiplash. Yeah, and then I remember the actual worst one was the Jaws, because it was just so cheesy. It was cool in like 1982 when it opened, but I was born in that year, so I need something more recent. But anyway, yeah, and you just see that little animatronic fin go around, and you hear the and you're like, okay, you can stop. Oh, it got me wet. The stupid little shark
Yeah.
comes out towards you, and it's just like,
Oh, you got me. You got
oh,
me.
that was scary. I almost thought I was gonna get eaten for a second. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, the Alan Wake ride that would be a trip. That would be, oh man, I'm just imagining what that could like consist of. Would you have? I guess you'd have like a flare gun at some point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's like don't shoot your eye out, kid.
You'd have to. You'd have to like have a little town you can kind of go around at first, and then like this weird woman just comes out of the shadows.
Don't go into the dark.
Don't go into the dark. What did the woman have in that? It wasn't a
It was like
log.
it was like a lantern,
It was
wasn't it?
I don't remember. Because she was like the log lady from Twin Peaks.
Yeah. And then you get the band come out and the
Yeah.
lady of the lake, lady of the lake, lady of the lake.
Oh man, good times. Yeah, so basically an Alan Wake ride would just be like a tribute to David Lynch in some kind of
Yeah.
weird roundabout way.
You'd have to hold flashlights. That would be your gun flashlight.
You have to like
And then
you'd have guys come out of like doors, and then you have to shine the light on them, and they go "Roar!" and like go back. They go away. They just like go, oh
then
no,
J.J.
I
Abrams
hate
comes out
light.
and goes lens flare.
An Alan Wake movie directed by J.J. Abrams would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh my
Lens
god,
flare everywhere.
everywhere lens flare. All right, so we went from there to Arklay and then back again. All right, so
Yeah.
um,
So after we get off the ride of Alan Wake,
after we get off the ride of Alan Wake, I guess the Evil Within will be out by that time, won't it?
hopefully sooner.
Well, it will be out by then. That's my point.
Yes,
But
yes, it
yeah,
will.
so the Evil Within, which is a game coming out in October, correct?
Yes, October,
October. It got
early
moved,
October.
got moved up a week, right?
Yes, it did.
So
I
now
believe it's the 13th.
is it competing with Smash Brothers now or something? I don't remember, but
I I don't
same
know.
demo though. So yeah, this game is actually directed by the guy that directed the first game and the first two games we were talking about, Resident Evil Remake and Resident Evil 4, Shinji
Yeah.
Mikami. Looking at it, it really makes me think of Vanquish. So, but no, anyway, it's made on a id 5, right? And
Yes.
it's the first game on id 5 running at 30 frames per second.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Rendering the guys that made Wolfenstein liars.
Yeah, because they said it was
Because
hard grain.
yeah, they were like, no, it's hard programmed. It's like hardwired for 60 frames per second. Like we couldn't do anything else. And then here comes the Evil Within. Like, uh,
Nope.
I'm pretty sure you could have done 30 if you wanted, guys. Like,
You know, I'm wondering if the reason
I'm
it
glad they
is
didn't.
because I mean I also heard there's going to be the black bars.
Yeah, I don't know because I've seen some like shots, some gameplay shots in 16 by 9. Obviously, we've seen video in 16 by 9, and then what he's talking about is the cinematic, the cinescope, if you will, aspect ratio, cinemascope, whatever it's called. It's 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio. It's the movie aspect ratio you see in theaters with the black bars on the top and bottom when you rent a Blu-ray, like The Hobbit or
Yes.
anything like that. That's
Oh, the Hobbit.
that's what it is. And another game called
The Order.
yeah, The Order 1886, right?
Yep.
The Order for PlayStation 4 is actually using this method. Now, it's interesting because Resident Evil 4 actually had black bars on the top and bottom
Yes.
of the screen too when it came out on GameCube. Later on, they put in like a 16 by 9 mode for the PlayStation 2 version of it, and then that got
And
moved over to the Wii.
they didn't just stretch it, right? They actually did it.
Yeah, and the PS2 version was actually like a real 16 by 9 version. The Wii version was just cropped. But anyway, so this is interesting because Shinji Mikami has a history of this. But yeah, so there's a few gameplay shots that I've seen that have the black bars, and well, no, they don't have the black bars, but they're in the wide aspect ratio. It's usually a 1920 by 818 or so resolution, and then you put it on your TV or something, you can see it'll automatically put the black bars in there for you on your PC. So I don't know because I don't think I've seen any video in that aspect ratio though. Have you?
I could have swore I did when they were first talking about it.
But yeah, since I don't think I have. I do know what you're talking about though because they did have at one point I was wondering that too. Yeah. So anyway, so we just checked the video. The black bars are there in the most recent gameplay footage, which you said was from E3. So
Yeah, it's an
it's a
E3
couple
build.
months old. So I don't know. So I guess it is. I guess that is like the final thing they're doing. The final version
countdown.
will have black bars. Which I guess people get used to it honestly because the further we get into this new console generation, I honestly think the more they're going to try to eke graphics obviously out, stuff like that. So I think we're going to probably see a lot more games with black bars on them if they sell well initially, and it's going to be used. The excuse will be, well, it's more cinematic. We're doing it for because that's what they're saying for the order. They're like, well,
Yeah,
we're
it's
doing
more
it for
cinematic.
a cinematic feel. I'm like, yeah, that HUD in my face is really cinematic.
Yeah, actually, I thought of a great for well, I mean, this only really applies for people that wear glasses,
Yeah.
but if you think your life is lacking just a little bit and you want it to be more cinematic, take some duct tape and make a bar above your
Oh, that's a good
glasses and
idea.
below,
That's a great
and
idea.
and everything will be in cinematic mode.
Let's walk around
Everything, even when you eat a bowl of Cheerios,
duct tape
cinematic mode.
bars. Oh, that would be badass. I'm gonna try that
It's,
next week.
it's so
Not
cinematic.
this week. I have things I have to do and places I have to go. But the week after, when I can be a hermit all day, I'll just black bar my life.
It should have its own theme
Oh,
song,
it's
which they'll just pay the
CinemaScope.
rights to.
CinemaScope, real life.
Oh,
So
Black Betty, ba ba down. Oh, Black Betty, ba ba down. That could be the song.
get me high, no lie. Is this the last Detect 5 game?
Probably.
I
I
think
would.
it is. I hope it
I
is.
mean,
I don't like It Tech 5. It was a
I don't
big
either.
big misstep by John Carmack. No thanks. Keep those mega textures out of my face, please. Thank you very much.
I played Rage. This is kind of off topic again, but I played Rage on the 360 when it came out, and I
Yeah.
installed the game. Blah blah blah, and there was a little bit of texture popping in, whatever, and I was like, okay, I can deal with it. I played the PS3 version recently, just out of curiosity, and literally every time I spin around, like there's textures popping in, and
Yeah.
I was like, I can't handle this.
Yeah. It's ugly. And when you get up close to something, your day's ruined. You're like, God, why? I was so looking forward to playing this game, and then it's just ugly. Yeah. So and then Wolfenstein actually came through pretty well, but that's like the only example we'll ever have. And even then, like some of the textures are just nasty. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was there's this for those of you who are like me, and Resident Evil 4 is one of your favorite games ever. Um, if you have the PC version of the game, which recently got released this year, what they did was back in I think 2007, Ubisoft actually of all companies released a PC version of Resident Evil 4, and it's
Yes.
even today regarded as one of the worst ports of all time because the initial version of that game was so bad it didn't have lighting, it didn't have mouse aiming. You had to actually aim your weapon with the number keys on your keyboard, which is horrible. So they eventually patched it, and actually, it was based on the PlayStation 2 version of the game, which was scaled down from the GameCube version. So a lot of effects were missing even after the patch and all kinds of stuff. And like the geometry's been changed. Like there's less trees in the forest, and there's fewer, I don't know, hay bales or something. I don't know, but the point was it was a terrible, terrible port. So earlier this year, they commissioned.
Leon.
What was that?
I think Ashley was calling for Leon.
Okay. So they commissioned QLock, a company, I don't know where they're from, but they do a lot of work for Capcom. They do a lot of ports for them, and they ported Resident Evil 4 again to the PC based on the Xbox 360 version this time, which was based on the original GameCube version. So this time it's a much more faithful port. You have all the lighting in there, you have all the lightning strikes and all that good stuff. So this time, uh, it's actually moddable. The original was moddable too, but you don't want to play it if you can now that this version is out. And there's a guy, actually two guys, that are making a texture pack for this version of the game on PC. And it'll also work on Dolphin. If you just for whatever one reason or for whatever reason want to play with the Wii controls, you can still do that.
Again, not Dolph Lundgren.
No,
Dolphin.
Dolphin, not Dolph Lundgren. So, but this texture pack they're making, one of them, his name is Albert, and he actually worked on textures for. He did a texture pack for the original release for PC a few years ago, and the way that he did his texture pack was he actually based them on the GameCube textures, so they would look as faithful as possible to the actual textures they were supposed to be. So
Yeah.
so he has the whole staying true to the source, aspect in mind, which is great because you don't want a texture pack to come out like there's one for Half-Life 2 called the Cinematic mod, and it literally changes the entire artistic look of the game, and it just looks nasty in my opinion. But
Yeah, why would you do that?
yeah, I know. So this time, these guys are super, super faithful. So faithful that they actually, Albert, I believe it is, lives in Spain, where a lot of the textures and stuff were sourced from for the game. And he walks around like on his way to work and whatnot, and he actually finds the original architecture that the textures come from. And he snaps new pictures of them, and he's actually making super high res textures of the original textures.
Oh, you're meaning like he found where they actually like
Yes.
took the textures from.
Yes. Like a chair, he'll post, and he has a website where you can follow the progress on it. He says it's not going to be completed till probably next year, but he's probably halfway through the game now or so. And it's him and another guy. And you go to re4hd.com and you can follow the progress. And every week he has a Twitter account too where he posts like an example, and it says he posts all kinds of before and after pictures on his website. But um, the most recent example is, let's see here. Like for example, he'll take this cabinet that's in the castle, and he'll post the actual like cabinet that it's from. And he went inside like a museum and found this cabinet and
That's
like took
funny.
a picture of it. And he'll put it, he's going to put it, he puts it in the game, and it's super super realistic now. It looks really
Yeah,
really clear.
I got to get that link from you. I want to check that out.
Here's the one I'm talking about in particular.
Yeah, let me see this.
But
Let's
it's
get
it's
my.
really really impressive what they're doing. And I love it because it stays absolutely faithful to the game itself. So it's there's no differences basically. There's one that he found, and I shit you not, it was literally the most obscure wall texture you would ever find. It was like paint was chipped in a certain spot or something that he spotted it, and he like it was in the shooting gallery. It was one of the walls in the shooting gallery, and he posted a picture of it, and he was like, look, I found the actual. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, I would never spot that in a million years.
So I mean, did they actually did the team actually go in there, take pictures, and then map them from their pictures? Like the old team, the actual Capcom?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they went around Spain, I guess, and snapped pictures, and you know put
Is
them in
that
the
allowed?
game. No, yeah, it is. I guess. I mean, they're using public things like churches and whatnot, but
Gotcha.
but yeah, I
Man,
know
that's
you're right
crazy.
now because yeah, look at this. Like, here's this statue. Anybody that's played through Resident Evil 4, there's a part right in the castle with this statue that's hanging upside down from the ceiling. He found that original statue, and he's like he's replacing everything practically in the game. It's really nuts. It's
I
really
want to
really
see this.
impressive
I
too,
want to
just
see the
because it's.
statue.
I mean, anyway, yeah. So you
Where's
guys go check it out at the website re4hd.com, and he has a Twitter account. It's at re4hd project, and you can follow his progress. But every week he'll
oh
tweet a picture of yeah, look at this one. This is fucking crazy. This one is like, look familiar? Today, target practice area wall. And it's just like the most random thing to spot, but it's freaking incredible. This guy's eye for detail is nuts. He must do really well at his job, whatever he does for a living. And if he doesn't, he needs to be in this field because it's unbelievable. This one, I mean, that's isn't that the most random thing ever to spot out
let's
in
see.
public somewhere?
I'm clicking it.
Yeah, it takes a while because his pictures are 300 by 400 resolution.
Say what?
Yeah, exactly.
What in the world?
They're like, how did you find that? Like, what?
Well, okay, so the game takes place in Spain, so obviously they went there for inspiration and
Yeah.
decided to just jack a bunch of.
Yeah, they just completely stole like public property, put
I'm
it in
just
the game.
surprised that never came out. Like this never came out like a long time ago. Like people in Spain were like, "Yeah, I found like."
Yeah, that's what's interesting though is it's if you're a fan of the game like me and Justin are, then it's fascinating to see some of the architecture that the textures were actually taken from, and to follow the progress of this guy is just nuts. It's mind blowing. But he has a thread on NeoGaf, and he'll update it every now and then. And everybody that looks at the thread, they're just like, "Holy shit! Are you serious? Like, really? How did you notice that?" The most obscure things this guy's finding.
Well, at least it's authentic.
Yeah, no kidding. Like he found a door,
Yeah, a door.
a not like every door uses the same texture. It's like every door has its own texture, and he found this specific door in the middle of somewhere in Spain, and you're like, what? How would
That's
you even
insane.
notice that? Yeah, so but good on him,
Well,
man. Yeah, look at that. It's just, I mean, and he's like posing next to the door, like, look,
yeah,
found
look
the
at
Resident
me.
Evil 4 door. Like, that's great. What is Resident Evil 4? Man, but yeah, the rest of the game looks awesome too. Like, you know, he's redone Leon's textures and all these different things. And he even found the one he even found the textures, you know, for the puzzle with the goat, all that stuff, the
Oh
goat
yeah,
and the
yeah.
lion and all that stuff. Like he found all three of those textures, and like he found the whole the guy on the horse with a spear and all that stuff. Is just nuts. Every single one of it's just perfect. So I'm looking forward to playing that though. I think he actually did release a beta for the very first the village part of the game at the very beginning, so you can actually play like with his new textures, just
Oh,
that
that's
part.
cool.
But he released it just to make sure it works and everything, you know, before he continued on for
Does
his
it work?
for their. I'm sorry, I keep saying his, but it's two people. But they released it, you know, just before they committed to it. They needed to make sure that they weren't just
Well,
doing it for
yeah.
no reason. So
It's
yeah, that
funny
would have
because
sucked.
I've been considering actually doing a walkthrough or more of a playthrough of Resident Evil 4 on my channel just for fun.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'd watch it. I
you
like.
would,
I would just because I enjoy Resident Evil 4 enough, but I've played
and
that
not
game
because you
so
enjoy
many
me.
times. My God, no, I don't enjoy it at all. But that's the thing is, Resident Evil 4 is just I don't know. It's timeless in my eyes,
Yes,
and it plays exactly like Vanquish. Like
just
I
gotta
said,
stop the vanquish.
have you
Gotta
noticed? By
stop
the
the.
way, have you noticed my quote unquote in Adam's mind obsession with Coldplay on Twitter?
Yes.
So the whole reason I do that is because it bugs him. And
Yes.
yeah, it's not hard to figure out, right? But I started saying like things like, "Wow, I can't wait for those listening, for the three of you left." Um, what happens is, dude on Twitter he hates when I mention Coldplay, and I just mention Coldplay because it annoys him, and so you know it's like a self fulfilling prophecy. But uh, I started coming up with different ways to fit the words Coldplay. Like he would say, like I would pay money for you to stop saying Coldplay in your tweets. So I'll come up with new ways of saying Coldplay. So when he'll read it, like he won't realize what he's saying to himself. Like, and he'll go, "Damn it, Don!" Like, and he'll realize what I said at the end of it. But like one of them, I was like, "Well, I can't wait for Shakespeare on Ice to come this winter because I really love to see a Coldplay." You know, and stuff like that. And he's like, "Damn it, Don, always putting us." I'm like, "Well, you know, you didn't have to read it. You can unfollow me if you want, please." But that's the thing is, just have fun, you know, in life. There's nothing really. What else did I say? I was like, "Wow, I was at GameStop and they wouldn't let this dude who was sick touch the PS4 demo because they wouldn't let a guy with a cold play."
That's a good
It's
one.
just stupid shit like that. And he's just like, "Damn it, Don, stop always putting Coldplay in your tweets." So that's for you, Adam. But yeah, it's always fun, like I said, to have fun with people. And check out that texture pack because that guy is putting a lot of work into that thing, and you know he's not doing it for any money. He's doing it
Yeah,
completely
he's just
free.
doing it for the heck
He's
of it.
asking for donations though, so if you can hand him a couple bucks for troubles, that'd be
Yeah.
great. You know, because it's like a full time job basically for that guy. Those guys. I keep saying that guy. It's more than one.
Yeah. Come on, Don.
I'm sure they would appreciate. Well, one of them would love that we talked about it, and the other one would hate that we talked about it and didn't give him credit for
So give him credit now, officially.
it. Yeah, the other guy, whatever your name is. Good job. Congratulations on the amazing faithfulness that you're keeping.
You're doing good work.
Doing the Lord's work, man. Hey, Justin,
Yes,
it's that time of the week again. What did you learn?
it is. I learned that Resident Evil 4 has a bunch of textures taken from Spain.
I can't believe you didn't know that.
I had no
I
idea.
always figured it did, but yeah, I didn't know. It's fascinating seeing the actual architecture it comes from.
Yeah,
because it's and I'm glad it is actually in Spain. It's not just set in Spain and then they just took a bunch of like architecture from downtown Tokyo.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always knew that they took the character model for the chainsaw guy from Jason on Friday the 13th.
Well, obviously, but I
Yeah,
think you mean Leatherface
sure,
from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
maybe. I don't know. Jason actually had a sack on his face in his
Well,
first in the
you
second
can
movie.
email us, donandjustin@gmail.com. Send your hate comments toward us for not knowing our horror villains. That'd be great. Yeah,
What'd you learn?
I didn't really learn a lot. I learned that Last of Us. No, we didn't even mention that. Uh, I learned that. Damn, what did I learn? Help me out, folks. DonnaJustin@gmail.com. Email me and tell me what I learned this week. No. I learned that Resident Evil Remake is probably not actually going to be remade ever, but I want it to be because it's one of my favorite games and deserves to be. Also, this past week I learned I think Metroid Prime 3 might be my favorite of the trilogy, but
Oh, really?
that's another thing altogether. It is such a well-designed game. It's really, really, really well done. And it's really pretty. God, it's so nice to look at. But the Jaggy's getting away, and you return to
Jaggies.
reality. You go, oh, Nintendo, why couldn't you have gone HD 6 years earlier? Anyway, find us on Twitter at It's Don Allen at /JPC, and all the show notes are down there. I'll separate it and give you a time code of whenever your discussion starts and ends and all that stuff. And till next week, take care of yourselves, everybody, please. And as Jerry Springer said, and each other.
Yeah. Take care, guys.